Okay, then here a little video on if I should be using layers or groups or what I should be doing. Well, there is a lot of personal preference with how you want to do it, but I did a little while ago, I did this design and this is the image what was given. So I first had a look at the image and then looked at it, what are the kind of layers I'm looking at. So I'm looking here at one layer for the horseshoe shape and the color of the horseshoe. Then I was looking at it, what is my next layer? So my next layer, that would be the leaves going on top of that. Then I would be looking at the roses, or no, first we would get the leaf details. Then I would want to sew the roses, and then I would do this flower, then this flower, and then this flower, and then as a final I would want to do the center in the flower. So that is why I decided to really go and work with layers, because some of these flowers, as you can see, each flower, each leaf on the flower or pebble, whatever you want to call it, is its own satin stitch. So like in this flower, I didn't take a count, but say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, there's about 16 parts to it, same here and same there. So if we would go and put this all into one layer, it would end up a lot of paths, and after a while it is hard to keep it organized, and especially for your colors. So what I did is create the horseshoe. I got everything. I'll turn the image off for a moment, and then we can just go and look at the parts. So for the horseshoe, I created these parts first in the first layer, and then I went and added the layer by having the objects panel open and create a layer here. And then we can name that layer whatever is convenient for us, so that we know which parts and pieces are in there. And so I will just go and call this test layer for a moment, and I will do a few other pieces later on in there. So now we can see that that layer has shown up here. So now what we can do is we can go and select our piece, and as you can see, we are right away in our right layer. Then what I did is I created the leaves. As you can see, these are the leaves what were created, and so I first created them also inside of layer 1, and then moved them into a new layer. And to move the pieces in the layers, I will show that in a bit too yet, how you can do that. So that is the leaf detail. Then with the roses, as you can see, there that looks like a lot of scribble. I'll turn off the leaves here and the leaf detail for a moment as I'm zooming in on one of the roses that looks like a big mess. But to create it, what I did is with the roses, I have a number of roses. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 roses. So what I did is I created each rose as an individual and grouped the parts inside of one of the roses. So there you can see this rose, and you can see that here on the bottom. That is a group of 17 objects. And this rose, 7 objects. That one 17, 14, and 14. So say that is 5 times 14. There's about 70 objects. If you would have that all into one layer, it would become quite a mess on keeping things organized. So that is why I went and put it all into layers, so it becomes really visible on how to keep it organized and the order of sewing. So now I can go and turn off this one for a moment, and as you can see, I'm turning off the layer visibility, but the visibility on the individual parts is still open. So if I collapse them, all I need to do is just click on there and they are visible again. And then here, that flower, as you can see also, as I'm gonna go and select for a moment, just in one flower there are 33 objects. So that is why, like I say, keep it organized. And there, the other flower, that one, if I turned that one off and now select this one, also there is 30 objects. So like I say, if you had all these pieces into one layer, it would become really unorganized for you, unless you go and really group it and then go and give your name, you group a name. But I find it easier to go and put them in a layer, and then you can go and move your layer up and down, so that will also determine the sewing order for your project. So it still would be sewing from the bottom going up. So that way you can just move your layers up or down. The same in the objects panel. You can just like that with the up and down arrows, you can move your layer up and down. But also there is a layers panel. So if I go here to the layers panel, there we can see all the layers, but we do not see the objects in the layers. So this window, I find this of not much use. I prefer working with the objects panel. That way I can see my layers, plus I can get into all my different paths and I can find where they are located, and if there's anything specifics I need to adjust, I can just click that and I can select it and move it or make node adjustments, whatever needs to be done. So now what I'm gonna do for a moment is I'll just go and create I'm as I'm creating, then what I do is I go to layer 1 and then I go and create my object, and this is a rectangle with only a stroke, and I can go and select it, duplicate it, and I'll set my stroke to none and I give it a fill. I just want to have that one down. Okay, so now we can see we have in the layer, we have a rectangle with a fill and a rectangle with a stroke. So we can add, so I created the one test layer, and now we can go and select the item in the main window, and then we can go and select move to layer, and we can go and then look for the layer where we want to move it to and move. And so now it changed visibility, or it's in a different it's now in a different it's in a different layer, but it also jumped in a different order in the panel. So that's why you also have to keep an eye on where things are, what you're putting in which layer. So now we go and select this rectangle and move to layer and test layer and move. And as you can see, now the fill area is on top of the stroke. So we still can move it up and down within the layer. Or we could have gone and made one more layer. So I could have gone, I can go say test layer 2, or I could have called it layer, and now I can go and say I want my stroke higher up, so I want that in a different layer, move to layer, and test layer 2, move. So that way I could go and move my outlines into a layer, and I could move my fills in a layer. So that way it becomes quite easy to keep everything organized with your shapes and pieces. If I would have had all these items on this design into one layer, it would have been a big mess to me. I would not be able to overlook everything. So so now I can go and also what we can do is quite often we're starting with an image. We can also go and move our image to a separate layer. That way we don't have to deal with that one whatsoever. We could have that one all the way on the top. Oh no, that is it needs to be always on the bottom in order for visibility. So, and then two, we can make our layers, we can make them visible and invisible. We can go and let me here. So now they are visible. We can also lock them in place. So now, no matter, we cannot select them, and we cannot not drag that layer. There I did drag something different. But this rectangle and the stroke will not move whatsoever, and that is because the lock is on. So we can just let and we can unlock it, and now we can go and drag it or make adjustments, whatever adjustments we need to make. And if we go and group certain parts and pieces in order to get into the group, then say, let me just move these two over for a moment. So there I have these, and now I will go and object and group them. So now if I want to make an adjustment to the inside, to the fill area, say I want to resize that one a little bit, but it is grouped. So in order to get into the group, we either have to go to the Objects panel, find the group, and then find the right part to select within that group in order to make an adjustment. As you can see there, it was selected. Now I can make an adjustment. Or if I deselect for a moment and say I'll just go and select it again. So oh, what happened there? That should not have, because I was trying to. Okay, so as you can see there, I deselected for a moment, and now I reselected this rectangle again, and then you can see in the Objects panel the group is selected. So now to make an adjustment, it won't work if I want to do the adjustment on the fill area. So we can also go and double click with the left mouse button, and then it gets deselected, and then a single click, and now we can select each individual part within the group. So that is a double click as I'm deselecting. Yeah, because I was in the group already. So say if I go first to another one there, and now I go and select on this one, now the group gets selected. As you can see, they are locked together again. So that is a double left click and then a single click, and now we can manipulate each individual part and piece. Okay, hope this will help you out a little bit on making decisions on how to work with layers, and if you should be working with layers. If I have a fairly simple design, then I will only use it in one layer, but it's a personal preference on how you want to work with it. Okay, thanks for watching.